Hello and welcome to Wales Today. I'm Jennifer Jones with the headlines. Greta Otterson and her fiancé died from methanol poisoning after drinking contaminated limoncello in Vietnam last Christmas. Her parents in Carmarthenshire say they are desperate for justice.
We want to put them to rest, but we feel we can't do that until we get a proper conclusion onto the deaths and who caused the deaths, etc.
Also in tonight's programme.
Protests in Westminster before the state banquet in Windsor. The First Minister won't be there either after she turned her invite down.
A woman who died in a house fire in Ceredigion on Monday is named locally as Heather Edwards. 900 fewer injuries on our roads since the switch to 20 miles per hour, but some warn it's led to examples of dangerous driving.
Look at that, the man's 79.
And we meet Steve Davis, who's about to win his first international cap as Wales' over 70s and over 75s teams head to the World Cup in Japan.
Very proud, representing your country. I never thought it would happen, but here I am.
Good evening. The parents of a woman who died alongside her fiancé after drinking limoncello made with methanol say they're desperate to get justice over their deaths. Greta Otterson and Arno Quinton were found dead at their home in Vietnam on Boxing Day last year. Greta's parents, Paul and Susan Otterson from Carmarthenshire, say they want someone to be held accountable. They've been speaking to our reporter, Nellie Bird.
So Greta is from Wales and I'm from South Africa, and very unlikely that we met in the Middle East, and we decided to move to Vietnam to try something different.
A poignant video of Greta Otterson and Arno Quinton, filmed to announce their engagement in November of last year. They died just weeks later. Now their ashes sit thousands of miles away in these small bags in the home of Greta's parents, Paul and Susan, near Llandyfri in Carmarthenshire.
They're behind the chair here. They sit in the lounge with us. We want to put them to rest, but we feel we can't do that until we get a proper conclusion onto the deaths and who caused the deaths.
Greta and Arno had been together for 2 years and they lived here, Hoi An, a coastal city in Vietnam popular with tourists. It's where Greta's parents travelled to in November of last year, meeting Arno for the first time and celebrating the engagement. During the trip, they ate out and at one well-known restaurant were given homemade limoncello. Paul says he later arranged and paid for a couple of bottles to be sent to Greta and Arno as a Christmas gift. They drank it on Christmas Eve.
We contacted Greta on Christmas Day, as everybody does, and she was saying that she wasn't feeling well and that she was seeing spots in front of her eyes. She said, I had so much to drink last night. It's the worst hangover I've got. She said, I'm going to lie down for a bit. And that was the last we actually spoke to Greta or contacted Greta.
The couple were found dead the following day, and soon police confirmed that they died from methanol poisoning. It's an alcohol normally found in cleaning products. It's cheaper to buy and is highly toxic. There have been other high-profile cases, mainly in Asia. Just weeks before, 6 people died in Laos after drinking contaminated shots.
Dealing with Vietnam is totally different than dealing with British formalities.
Since their deaths, Paul has been trying to get answers and accountability. A bartender was charged in February, accused of making the toxic limoncello, but there have been no updates since.
We can't move on. Susan's asking me every morning when we wake up, is there any news? Is there any news? We're very upset that the restaurant, Good Morning Vietnam, did not close once. They just carried on as if nothing has happened.
BBC Wales tried to contact both the Da Nang City Police, who are investigating, and Good Morning Vietnam, the restaurant where Paul said he ordered the limoncello. We didn't get a response from either. We also contacted the Foreign Office. Minister Seema Malhotra said her thoughts were with the family and that methanol poisoning was a deeply concerning issue and that the government was committed to helping keep people safe. 9 months on, the family's pain is still incredibly raw.
Greta was just marvellous. I couldn't hope for anything better as a daughter. The one big regret as well is that we won't get grandchildren. Greta was our only child. So we won't have grandchildren, we won't have Greta, we won't have her. Everything that we worked for, now it's meaningless.
The family hope they'll get answers soon, so Greta and Arno can finally be laid to rest.
That was Nellie Bird reporting there. Now, it's an historic second state visit to the UK for President Donald Trump, but Wales's First Minister has turned down the King's invitation to a state banquet at Windsor Castle this evening. It follows a day of ceremony and pageantry hosted by the royal family for the US President and the First Lady. Well, the Welsh Government says Eluned Morgan wants instead to support colleagues after the recent death of Caerphilly Senedd member Hefin David. Well, our Westminster correspondent Amelia Belly joins us now. Amelia, that banquet in Windsor getting underway this evening, and it's very tightly controlled.
Yes, absolutely, down to the minute. We've seen that packed schedule today of pomp, circumstance, and frankly, the red carpet being rolled out for President Donald Trump. But there's also that tight control because of security concerns too, a public perimeter, keeping the public away from Windsor Castle. Now, that's a bit of a marked contrast to here, where thousands of people have turned out to protest Donald Trump's president in the UK. Also not present in Windsor tonight is the First Minister, Eluned Morgan. Now, unlike other political leaders, for example, Northern Ireland's First Minister, Emma O'Neill, who says she's boycotting for political reasons, for Eluned Morgan, the reasons are more personal. We got a Welsh Government statement saying that she wrote to the King to explain that she feels tonight her place is with her colleagues to support them during an incredibly difficult time following the passing of Caerphilly Senedd member Hefin David. Now, the Welsh Government told us instead she will be at a private engagement tonight with Senedd members. Her decision, though, has been strongly criticised by the Senedd Conservative leader Darren Millar. He said while he had sympathy, Wales should be represented at that banquet table, and that her decision not to attend could be deemed as a snub, which was deeply regrettable. No criticism, though, from Plaid Cymru. They say that we shouldn't be welcoming Trump here at all in the first place because it risks emboldening extremists at home and abroad.
And today has been all about the pomp and pageantry, but tomorrow down to business, and it's hoped more on trade deals.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main items on the agenda tomorrow at Chequers between the two leaders is going to be hammering out finer points of further deals between the UK and the USA. So far, we've had multi-billion-pound announcements on tech and AI. However, despite reports that there was going to be a tariff reduction, the fears that those could be shelved, there is hope after Donald Trump gave positive noises that maybe we could see a reduction in steel in tariffs. So they will be hoping for a better result out of those one-on-one close meetings tomorrow, and many will be tuning in to their joint press conference tomorrow afternoon to see whether Sir Keir Starmer has managed to get any concessions out of Donald Trump. If you're tuning in, you might want some popcorn too.
OK, Millie, thank you very much. Amelia Belly there. A woman who died following a fatal fire in Ceredigion on Monday has been named locally as Heather Edwards. Ms Edwards' body was found after the blaze at a property near Bwlch had been brought under control. According to Dyfed Powys Police, a 58-year-old man who was arrested on suspicion of murder has been released with no further action to be taken against him, as Ellen Davis reports.
Bwlch, a rural, remote village in Ceredigion. Monday afternoon, emergency services were called to this two-storey property attached to a farmhouse after reports of a fire. According to Dyfed Powys Police, the damage to the property was extensive. Mid and West Wales Fire and Rescue Service crews were called at 2:15 in the afternoon, describing the blaze as a well-developed fire, with firefighting efforts made harder by strong winds. During the incident, new information made it apparent that one individual was unaccounted for, and a body was discovered in the building once the fire had been brought under control. The woman has been named locally as Heather Edwards. For the local community, it comes as a great shock.
It's appalling. It's frightening to know that such a solid house has been completely destroyed by fire. So it's really the whole village, the whole community are appalled by what has happened.
It's shaken the whole community, and I can only sympathise with the individuals' family and friends. I'm sure the police will be present for a few more days as they continue with their investigation. I don't want people to be alarmed by their presence. It's reassuring that they are there investigating to get to the root of the cause of the incident. But I think it's important to allow the police to do their job and to do their investigations without much interference, really.
In the last hour, Dyfed Powys Police said a 58-year-old man who was arrested on suspicion of murder has been released with no further action to be taken against him. The death is being treated as unexplained, and officers are not currently looking for anyone else in connection with the incident. Formal identification of the body is yet to take place, and it's expected that this could take some time. A policing presence will remain at the scene while the property is made structurally safe and officers continue with their inquiries.
The jury has been discharged for legal reasons in the case of two brothers accused of causing the death of a man from Powys while racing each other. Rhys Jenkins was killed in the crash near Welshpool last November. His son was airlifted to hospital with serious injuries. Abu Bakr Ben Yusuf and Umar Ben Yusuf both denied causing death by dangerous driving and causing serious injury by dangerous driving. A new trial will be held next June. Serious concerns have been raised about the performance of some of Wales's growth deals, those economic zones that receive public funding from the Welsh and UK governments, with a focus on boosting jobs and attracting private investment. Well, a Senedd committee has warned that 2 of Wales's 4 growth deals are falling short of expectations, and there's a risk they'll fail to deliver on their economic promises. Here's our business correspondent, Hugh Thomas.
Growth deals are designed to boost the economy, and they cover most of Wales, from the South Wales valleys in the Cardiff capital region to Trawsfynydd in Gwynedd, in the deal that covers the whole of North Wales. Years after the nuclear power plant here was decommissioned, the board that runs the North Wales growth deal wanted to secure a new generation of smaller reactors to be based here. When that failed, the Senedd committee said the team lost much of the investment and jobs it had hoped for. Meanwhile, at Aberthaw on the Vale of Glamorgan coast, there's an ongoing project by the Cardiff capital region to transform this old power station. But a legal dispute cost over £5 million to settle earlier this year, and future costs risked it becoming an unchecked drain on public funds. The Senedd committee set out its concerns about the collapse of the North Wales plan for Trawsfynydd, and said the Aberthaw redevelopment costs seemed unwieldy and could go over £1 billion, and it sought urgent clarity on the future public funds for the growth deals and how they'll be kept in check. Growth deals are meant to create jobs and attract private investment. The idea is that they give communities more say over their local economic priorities. Now, among the criticism today, there are some tangible results to talk about, but there are also concerns about the oversight from governments in Wales and Westminster who launched the growth deals in the first place.
Well, as the key partners, UK government and Welsh government need to get back in the seat and start driving these growth deals along with local partners so that they deliver the jobs that were promised at the outset, they deliver the regeneration potential, and above all, they deliver the opportunity to transform the regions that they cover.
Ambition North Wales, the board that runs the deals projects here, said unforeseen challenges, including COVID, inflation and planning delays, had impacted the rollout of the deal. But 6 projects were now underway. And in the Cardiff capital region, they say they are broadly on track.
I can take you to sites in Newport, where we've invested in the compound semiconductor industry, manufacturing in Caerphilly, tourism in the Northern Valleys. We've got the developments behind me here in Cardiff. These are developments that are being unlocked thanks to the investment that we as a city region are putting in. And it's investment often not just grants and forgetting about it, but taking an equity stake or a loan that in turn generates financial returns to the region.
The UK government pointed to a list of successful investments by Wales's 4 growth deals. while the Welsh Government said it would continue to support and monitor them all.
Hugh Thomas reporting. Still to come in the programme.
John, look easy, don't force the play.
Over 75's national teams as they head to the World Cup in Japan.
And many of us have seen wet and breezy conditions today. There is a rain warning in force at the moment, with the potential for more weather warnings this weekend. Join me later for that full forecast.
Now, it's been 2 years since the 20 miles an hour default speed limit was brought in Wales. It was arguably the most controversial legislation introduced by the Welsh Government. And there's been plenty of opposition, but campaigners say the lower limit is saving lives, with data showing almost 900 fewer people injured in road accidents here. Stephen Fairclough has the details.
2 years ago, the default speed limit on roads in built-up areas was reduced from 30 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. The argument from the Welsh Government was that it would reduce the number of people hurt in car accidents. Now, 2 years on, those in support of the changes say it's made a difference, with the most recent figures showing 882 fewer people injured in the first 18 months of the changes compared with the previous 18 months.
If you look at the data on for each quarter, that change happened immediately. The default speed was introduced. So it wasn't like there was a lag or anything like that. It happened almost on the first day we saw these results coming through. And it's just happened, it's continued over 18 months.
The policy has been controversial, with people protesting against the changes and thousands signing a petition to reverse them. Less than a year after the 20 miles an hour speed limit was introduced, the Welsh Government announced that councils could consider turning some roads back to 30 miles an hour. Some councils have changed a handful of roads. In Wrexham, though, 52 roads have now gone back to 30 miles an hour. One Wrexham driving instructor on the roads every day with his students thinks the lower speed limit has had a negative effect.
Since the 20 mile an hour speed limit was introduced, I've seen a big change in driver behaviour for the worst. I've seen nothing but tailgating. I can't describe how many times we've been overtaken on driving lessons. And of course, it's created a very dangerous environment for driving.
The former government minister who introduced the legislation says casualties have fallen by 25%, and he's glad he brought in the change.
We created a policy based on evidence. This was not something we plucked out of the air. And the statistics 2 years in is consistent with what the evidence told us to expect, that average speeds are down, and as a result, casualties are down.
In April, it was revealed that the number of speeding offences recorded since the introduction of the new limit was more than 112,000, with an average speed of 28 miles an hour. In Aberystwyth, there are still mixed feelings about the 20 miles an hour limit.
It has its uses in certain places, but others it's a nuisance.
Getting places slower was a concern at first, but after about 5 months or so, it just kind of became part of life.
Good for safety, good for people who walk on streets. I think it's a really good idea.
The Welsh Government says it will still take a number of years to fully assess the impact of the change, and that the ability of councils to adjust the speed limit will lead to the right speeds on the right roads.
Now, rising food prices could leave thousands of people in Wales facing another winter of having to choose between heating and eating. That's according to the Bevan Foundation, a Wales-based research organisation, in response to the latest cost of living figures. Well, our money editor, Felicity Evans, is here. Now, Felicity, tell us more about these latest stats.
Well, we're talking about inflation, Jen, and inflation measures the rate at which prices are rising. And in the 12 months to August, they rose by 3.8%. So that means that something that would have cost you £100 a year ago would cost you £103.80 now. Now, that is unchanged from July's figure, but I think the thing that's really impacting household budgets is what's happening with food prices, because they're up 5.1% in the year to August. And there are particular items that go way beyond that. Beef, for example, up by a quarter, butter up by nearly a fifth, coffee and chocolate up by 15% in that 12-month period. And some economists are suggesting that part of the reason for that might be due to increased employers' costs after the Chancellor increased national insurance contributions, and that's getting passed on. In some cases, the weather's impact on harvests and that sort of thing might be responsible as well. But the key thing is that because food is an essential spend, when prices go up, it has a particularly heavy impact on low-income households because they can't choose not to buy food. And that's what the Bevan Foundation said it's concerned about in Wales, where we know that, on average, there are more poorer households than in the UK as a whole. So they are concerned that some very difficult choices loom for some of the poorest households in Wales without more support.
And what does all this mean then for the Bank of England's decision on interest rates tomorrow?
Well, what it means effectively from a lot of analysts' forecasts is that they think the Bank of England isn't going to change the rate, which currently stands at 4%. Of course, interest rates is how the bank tries to control inflation. And if you keep interest rates high, then that makes borrowing like mortgages more expensive. And with the inflation rate nearly double the Bank of England's target of 2%, people aren't expecting any change tomorrow.
OK, well, keep us posted, Bliss. Thank you. In sport, Swansea City host Premier League side Nottingham Forest in the third round of the EFL Cup tonight. The Swans are unbeaten at home and face a Forest side who've qualified for this season's Europa League.
It's an exciting game to be a part of. Nottingham Forest are a wonderful football club, but I also believe that we're a wonderful football club. And like I said the other day, we're simmering, but ultimately we want to get to a place where we're in these areas as well.
Now, on this programme, we cover every twist and turn of our national football teams as they aim to qualify for their next World Cup tournaments. But Wales's older age group football teams are preparing to fly to Japan to compete in their World Cup. The over-70s will be defending their World Cup title, while the over-75s are hoping to avenge their defeat against England last year. Colette Hume has been to meet them.
John, look easy, don't force the play.
World Cup winners and runners-up going head-to-head in training.
Look at that, the man's 79.
Steve Davis is the oldest member of the over-75s, and he's not afraid to get stuck in.
To get a first cap at 79 years of age, you know, is quite surprising. But, you know, my family's very proud, and friends I've got to say, oh, that's fantastic. So it is fantastic. Never thought it would happen.
And how do you feel when you run out in that red shirt?
Very proud, representing your country. I never thought it would happen, but here I am.
The teams were formed just 18 months ago, but their rise has been meteoric. Last year, the over-70s and the over-75s World Cup was held in the Welsh capital, where the over-70s triumphed. But it was heartbreak for the over-75s in their final. How's training going so far?
It's going really well, actually. This is a knockabout between the 70s and the 75s. So both groups are going to the World Cup. So it's pretty much a gentle knockabout. There's not going to be any slack. It doesn't look very
gentle to me.
Well, they've been told to leave their weapons at home today.
So how confident are you feeling about your chances this time round?
Yeah, I don't want the lads to get too overconfident, but I am very confident that we can go one better. You probably know we lost on penalties to England last year without actually losing a game. We'd won 5 or 6 games prior to that.
And that must have really hurt.
Yeah, it did. It did, actually.
At half-time, there was a chance to catch up with Steve. It was a tough old half, that, wasn't it?
It was a tough half. I found it so.
It didn't look very friendly.
Oh, they're pretty good, the boys. Both sides, pretty good. They don't commit themselves too heavily.
I hear you're no stranger to a sliding tackle.
No, it's one of my favourites, actually, a sliding tackle.
Make sure that when you go out there, we know what was happening.
The teams are under the experienced eye of former Sheffield Wednesday captain and later Cardiff City defender and player-manager Jimmy Mullen. It is so wonderful to see people in later life getting out there and getting stuck in.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we have to say to them in coaching sessions, some of them
take your time, ease off. You can't go flying in like you used to. And when they do, oh my God, it's brilliant. But their attitude is fantastic, really, really fantastic.
The two teams have more than 1,500 years under their belts, but proving that age is just a number, they'll fly to Japan determined to bring not one, but 2 World Cups back to Wales.
Yes, let's hope so. Good luck to them. Well, it's been a very wet day for most of us, so let's get the forecast for the end of the week. Hi, Sabrina.
Hi Jen, hi all. We do have a brief drier slot tomorrow, but I think over the outlook in general, it does look to be pretty unsettled, more wet and windy weather on the way. The chance for some strong to gale force winds too, so there's a potential for further weather warnings to be issued this weekend. That's one thing to watch. Here's our rainfall accumulation chart then over the next 5 days, so plenty more wet weather on the way, especially in parts of North and Northwest Wales. These white shades here show we could pick up on around 100 millimetres of rainfall. Here in Cardiff, it's felt like it's rained all day, and Cardiff has actually had more rainfall so far this September than what we saw during the entire summer, so it has been pretty unsettled, hasn't it? So the rain warning still in force will expire at 11 p.m. I'd say most of this rain isn't particularly too intense, but it's the persistent rain that's the problem, because those rainfall totals are just continuing to mount up. This evening then, the rain will tend to linger in parts of South Wales, and then through the overnight stretch that will gradually lift its way northwards. So too will the cloud, driest and clearest for longest in parts of the far north. Those winds will gradually ease with lows of 11 to 16 Celsius, mildest along the south coast. Tomorrow then, I think it's going to start off quite misty and murky with cloud and further outbreaks of rain and drizzle, some of which will be on the heavy side. But then here's the improving part. Tomorrow afternoon, that rain will extend its way northwards, allowing for us to see some drier conditions. There should be a few bright or sunny pockets developing too, and it will feel more humid tomorrow. Those winds moderate to fresh in strength and temperatures a touch higher. Looking further out then to Friday, here comes the waving weather front. So at the moment, positioning of this looks to be in parts of North and West Wales, where it is set to linger. Driest for longest at this stage, the further southeast you are, and temperatures typically in the high teens, low 20s. Those winds not as significant as what we have seen or what we'll see. So this weekend then, a deeper area of low pressure, so this is one to watch. Still some positioning uncertainty at the moment, but there's the potential for some very wet weather from this system and also some strong to gale force winds. So as I mentioned earlier, the potential for some weather warnings this weekend, turning a lot colder on Sunday too, you'll notice, because of the strong winds, northerly breeze, and it should generally trend a bit drier next week. That's your latest, Jen.
Sabrina, thank you. And that is Wales Today. We'll be back with the headlines at around 10:30. But until then, from all of us on the programme, do have a good evening. Bye-bye.